Hello, everybody. So this is the podcast for Algebra A for the week of March 25th. It also extends after spring break to April 5th. All right, so here goes. You guys have been graphing these kind of lines. That equation is written in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So when you've got y is equal to 2/5 x minus 2, you can read out the slope, the number in front of the x, and the y-intercept. So that b is represented as a y-intercept. So part of that vocabulary, this is the y-axis. This is the x-axis. Okay? Horizontal one is always the x, and the vertical one is always the y. The y-intercept is this number that you read here. The y-intercept is -2, so you came over and you put a dot at -2. So that's the first thing you did, was the y-intercept. The second thing you did is you read out the slope. And you read it as rise over run. Okay? The slope is 2/5. So from that point, from that y-intercept of -2, you rose 2 and ran 5. Rose 2 and ran 5. And then you drew your line. Okay? Now, a couple of pieces of vocabulary. This line is diagonal or oblique. That's a fancy way of saying diagonal. It's oblique. I'll try not to use it. I'll try and stick to the word diagonal, but it means diagonal. Okay? One way to define diagonal, it is not vertical, it is not horizontal. So this is a vertical line. This is horizontal. Okay, so a diagonal line is any line that isn't vertical or horizontal. A way to remember, if you have trouble remembering which is vertical, which is horizontal, when you're outside and you look at the horizon is left to right. That's horizontal. Horizon, horizontal. Okay. Couple things to point out. When you look at this equation, it has a y value or a y variable and an x variable. When you have an equation for a line that has an x and a y, it will cross both the x-axis and the y-axis. It'll cross both axes because you have both letters. Let me try and say that again. If I gave you y is equal to 3x minus 11, this has a y and it has an x. So it will cross both axes. So what's the implication of that? Why do we care? Well, it means since it has both letters, it will cross both axes. This equation will cross the axes for the letter that it has. It has an x and a y, so it will cross the y and it will cross the x. It will cross both because it has both letters. Okay, so look at this equation. It does not have both letters. It only has the y. It will only cross the letter that it has. It will cross the y because it only has a y. It cannot cross the x. Because it doesn't have an x. So if it can't cross the x and it can only cross the y, that means that has to be horizontal at 5. There's the line. It's a horizontal line at 5. Because it only has the y, it will only cross the y. If it dipped down, it would cross the x and the y. But it doesn't. It only has the y, so it can't cross the x. Okay? The other thing you would do is you would click on this and you would choose either the word horizontal or you would choose the word vertical. Okay? I'll show you how to do that in Delta Math. Okay? graph a line that's y equals -6. So again, notice it only has a y, so we'll only cross the y. And it's doing it at -6. So you come down to -6 on the y, and you draw yourself a horizontal line. Okay, again, I'm going to show you that in Delta Math. So let's go, Delta Math. Let's try this one. Okay, here we go. All right, y equals 6. You click on this, you choose horizontal because it's only going to cross the y because it only has the y, so you choose horizontal. And then you drag that yellow dot to the value of 6 and you let go, and then you hit submit answer. There it is. Okay, so let's try a new one. Let's try another one, another one, another one. There we go, y equals -2. You choose horizontal because it only has the y, and then you drag it to -2 and you let go. And there you go, and you submit your answer. Okay, so we're not done, we've got more to go. Here they're giving you the line. It's horizontal, it only crosses the y, so what you're supposed to do is write the equation for it. Write the equation for this line. Well, it only crosses the y, so it's y equals 3, where it crosses the y-axis. That's your answer. You're done. There's nothing more to do. This one, it's horizontal. So it's y equals some number. It's y equals, and you look for that y-intercept of 7, and you write 7. That whole thing is your answer. So don't just type 7 in. You have to type y equals 7. Okay? It has to have the y. All right. Vertical lines. Again, notice it only has an x, so it can only cross the x. So it's crossing the x somewhere. If it only crosses the x, then it only has an x. These ones were y equals. They only had the y, so they only touched the y. It touches the axis for the letter that it has. It has a y, so it only crosses the y, so it's horizontal. This has an x, so it only crosses the x, so it's vertical. And you would click on that, you pick vertical, and then you would draw the vertical line at x equals -4. Again, you're looking at the x-axis. Okay, this one, x equals 2. So you would click on that, choose vertical, and you would drag the line till the x, because it has an x, is 2. Okay, so let me show you that in Delta Math. Let me find one. There we go. X equals -3. So I'm going to choose vertical. It places the line randomly someplace. You grab the yellow dot and drag it to the x value of -3. X value. So you look at the x-axis, it's -3, and you drag it to there. Okay, you need to see it again. Let's find one. X equals -5. It only has the x, so it only crosses the x, so it's vertical. And you drag the yellow dot to that number of the x, -5, and you let go. Okay? Some of the problems are giving you the graph, and they want the equation. So it only is touching the x, so it only has an x. So x equals -4. And you type all of that in, not just -4. If you type just -4, it'll mark it wrong. You got to have the x with it. That x tells you it's vertical, whereas this tells you it's horizontal. So it's important that it's an x. Okay? This is a vertical, so it's x equals some number. And look at the x-axis and pick the x value, 2. There you go. Okay? This is the name of the assignment, the first one here. We'll do the second one after spring break. Thanks for your time. Have a great one.